Hello, welcome back to If Ash Had a Brother. Tried to get this series done earlier, but had other things to worry about. But now I've gotten time to do it, so now let's get into it. So, after beating Misty, the two brothers would decide to make progress in their journey. They would then make their way to AJ's undefeated gym, as AJ would want to challenge one of them and would say that he wasn't going to battle them both in one day, and that one of them was going to give him his 99th win. Ash wouldn't want to battle, as he wanted it to be Jack's turn to battle, as he was the first person to battle Misty, so Jack would battle AJ. Jack would use Ivysaur as AJ would use his Sandshrew. He would use a Razor Leaf on Jack's Sandshrew, which would do a lot of damage, which would then knock back Sandshrew, as Sandshrew would then use a Bulldoze, which would slow down Ivysaur as well as damaging it, as Ivysaur would then be slashed all over the place with a lot of slashes, as the combo would then be finished off with a slash. This would do a lot of damage, as when Ivysaur stood right back up, it would be barely standing, as when Ivysaur went for a Vine Whip, the vines would be slashed into pieces, as when Ivysaur was about to get hit by a slash, it would then use a Vine Whip, which would then trip Sandslash, as then it will grab Sandslash's legs, smash it all over the place, as then it will begin to charge the Solar Beam and launch it. As afterwards, Jack would return his Ivysaur, and AJ will congratulate him on his win and say that Jack looked very good in the battle and that it looks like he's gotten his first loss, as they would then shake hands and congratulate and compliment each other on how good trainers they were. So we would then go to the events of the School of Hard Knocks, where Joe was still getting bullied by his so-called friends about not knowing about Pokémon, and Ash, Brock and Jack would still intervene in the situation, as they know that it's not morally right to do this to somebody, and would say that it's stupid to do this, as they're putting him under pressure, and it doesn't look like he's going to remember anything in such a pressured situation, that it's kind of useless to do this. And they would then say that Jack was from Poketech and that he was below the standards of Poketech and that he didn't belong there, as they would then all go away, and Ash and Brock with Jack would decide that they are going to go to Poketech. But Ash would ask where and what Poketech is, which Jack and Brock would explain that it's a school for rich kids who don't want to go and battle to get their badges, to just study to get into the Pokemon League. As then they make their way to the Poketech school, as they would still, as the rest of the episode would go the same, with Joe still doing all of that battling on the arcade thing and still getting mocked by Giselle about how poor of a student he is. And now this is where the changes happen. So the three main characters would still meet Giselle, and everyone would still have a crush on her, but she would still be mean to them and say that they're all a bit dumb, that they're all suck as trainers, and that they're wasting their time going on an adventure when they can just go to Poketech and just learn, rather than going on a journey, and that they were all kind of dumb. She would still annoy everybody, and Ash would still decide that he was going to teach her a lesson, as he would use his starter Pokemon Growlithe against a Cubone. Giselle would still make a few snarky comments about Ash's choice of using a Growlithe, and that if Ash was really smart, he would know that a Growlithe would probably not do too well against Cubone, as Growl types are super effective against fire types. Ash would say that type advantages aren't everything in the battle, and that the better trainer is the one who wins, not just about type advantages. As Growlithe would then use a flame rule, which would knock back Cubone. So Cubone would try to go for a Boomerang, but Growlithe would then use an Ember, which would do a decent chunk of damage to Cubone. As Cubone would then go for a Bone Rush, which would do a decent chunk of damage to Growlithe, but Growlithe would get right back up and use another Flame Wheel, which would knock out Cubone. Giselle would be shocked that Ash had beaten her so quickly, as Ash would then return his Growlithe. Ash would say that even though she is studied in Poketech, the experiences from actually going out there and battling is priceless, and that everybody should learn how to become a trainer. And even though she's learning the basics from Poketech, practical experience will always beat the stuff that's learnt in the class, and that when she goes to the Pokemon League, she would probably be outclassed in the first match that she gets into. Giselle would realize that Ash was right, and that she needed some real Pokemon World experience if she really wanted to become a good trainer, as she would decide that she was going to travel with Ash. As eventually, she would tell him why she was going to travel, as she needed some Pokemon experience, and that Ash was right, and that if she just went there and just didn't have any experience, she would probably lose even worse than she did right now. And Ash would say that she's welcome to be on the team, as long as she's a bit more kind than she was last time. She would apologize for it, and now I think it's time to cover the next events surrounding the story. So the Bulbasaur's mysterious garden would still happen, but I'm gonna just say Giselle gets Bulbasaur's. Ash gets Bulbasaur in too many of my stories, and Jack, he already has a Bulbasaur, and I don't really see Brock getting Bulbasaur. And now for Charmander, what happens with it? I think that Jack will catch Charmander. And now for Squirtle. I know this might be a bit controversial, but I don't think anyone's going to catch Squirtle. Because, Squirtle came with everybody in the original timeline because it was kind of grateful and happy to go with Ash because of how he dealt with Team Rocket and helped it end its squad out. But because now that really happened here, I'm just going to say that Squirtle stays part of the Fire Squirtle squad and helps out the town that it lives in. And this episode will go pretty much the same. I don't think there's really too much worth covering in it. And now for the electric showdown. I forgot what the rest of the episode is called, but we need to cover it. So we would then make our way into Vermilion Gym, where we would encounter Surge. Surge would ask who was here for the badge, and Giselle, Ash, and Jack would say that they were there for the badge, as Brock would then go into the spectator area to watch. As because Ash had the first gym battle last time, I'm gonna say that it's gonna be Jack who's gonna battle Surge first, as it would then be Mankey versus Raichu. Raichu would be hit by a mega kick, as then Raichu would use a Thunderbolt, which would do a lot of damage, as then Mankey would get right back up, as it was hit by a critical hit, which would then awaken its ability Anger Point, as Mankey would then use a Karate Chop, which would do a lot of damage on Raichu, as Raichu would then go for a thunderbolt, but Mankey would get right back up as would then be a clash between Mega Kick and Quick Attack. And eventually, Mankey could beat Quick Attack and knock out Raichu. As Surge would then congratulate Jack on his victory and give him the Thunder Badge. But Ash would say that he wanted to battle Surge today, as if he came back and battled Surge tomorrow with his Raichu, he would already know how to beat Raichu, and that it wouldn't be a fun battle, and that he should battle Surge with another Pokemon of his that is on Raichu's level, if not stronger. Surge would think about what Ash had said and would realise that he's right, as he would then use his Electabuzz against Ash's Growlithe. Electabuzz would then go for a Thunder Punch, as Growlithe would then go for an Ember. Electabuzz would then be instructed to punch at the ground with a Thunderbolt, which would electrocute Growlithe, which would then knock back Growlithe. Growlithe would then use a Flame Wheel, which would knock back Electabuzz, as Electabuzz would then use 2 Thunder Punches to do a lot of damage to Growlithe, as Growlithe would then look like he had been fainted. Everyone would tell Ash that Growlithe wasn't able to battle and that he should return it, but Ash would know that Growlithe wasn't fainted yet and that the match wasn't over, as he would then tell Growlithe that it can get up and win the fight, as Growlithe would then get up, as it would then use a new move it had just learned, Flamethrower, which would then knock back Electabuzz for a lot of damage, as Electabuzz was burnt, as when it went for a Thunder Punch, it would do half the damage it did last time, which would then slightly knock back Growlithe, as Growlithe would then use a Flame Wheel which would knock it out along with the burn damage. Ash would return Growlithe, as Surge would give Ash the Thunder Badge and would say that it was a good battle and that Ash was right about battling him today rather than tomorrow. As Giselle would also get the idea to battle Surge, she would then tell Surge that this was her first actual gym battle and that he should go easy on her, and Surge would decide to do that, as he would then use one of his weaker Pokemon, Voltorb, that he uses for challengers who go up against him with 0 badges. As Voltorb would then use a Swift, which would then knock back Cubone, as Cubone would then use a Boomerang, which would hit for a lot of damage, but Voltorb would still remain standing, as he would then use a Gyro Ball, which would knock back Cubone. Then, when Cubone tried going for a Bone Club, it would simply spin using Gyro Ball, which would knock back and deflect Cubone's attack, which would do a decent chunk of damage. Then, while spinning, it would launch a bunch of Swifts, and the Gyro Ball spinning would launch even more Swifts double 4 at much higher intensity, as it would constantly barrage Cubone with a lot of Swifts, which would do a lot of damage, as eventually Cubone would be knocked down, as when Voltorb went for the finishing move, it would land its bone right under Voltorb so it can trip. This would work, as it would then finish off Voltorb with a Bone Club. Giselle would then return Cubone, as Surge would give her the badge and congratulate her on her victory. After the battle, we would then go to the event of aboard the St. Anne, as everyone would then make their way to the St. Anne, as they make their way inside of it, and they would celebrate and just chill in the St. Anne, but they'd still encounter the gentleman who would want to battle, and Jack would decide to battle. And Jack would show the gentleman his shiny Spearow, which would immediately catch the gentleman's eye, as the gentleman would use his Raticate against Jack's Spearow. Spearow would then use a Fury attack, which would do a lot of damage to Raticate, as Raticate would then go for a Hyper Beam, which would easily be avoided by Spearow, as Spearow would then use an Aerial Ace, which would then knock out the Raticate. Jack would turn his Spearow, and the gentleman would try to convince Jack to trade his Spearow for Raticate as he was completing the Pokédex, but Jack would say that he's not going to do that, as he's not going to trade this Pokemon that he's built bonds with and travelled with for quite a while now for a random Pokemon he's just met, and that the gentleman's Raticate wouldn't be a fair trade for his Spearow, as his Spearow is rare and shiny, and his Spearow is his friend, and that he's not too sure if the gentleman actually cares about Raticate, as he's willing to just give it away if it loses. The gentleman would understand how unreasonable he was being and would apologise and would walk away after congratulating Jack on his match. And also, because there wasn't any debacle about trading the Pokemon and trying to get it back, everyone would get off the SSM of St. Anne on time, and we can skip to the events of the episode where Tentacle attacked the area. I forget the names of these episodes, but in this episode everything would go pretty much the same, as the Tentacle would get angry with the woman who was building her little resort on their habitat, and they would still freak out and destroy almost everything. And eventually they would still calm down, but Ash would catch a Tentacle that was attacking him out of self-defense and to fill the Pokédex, and he also wanted to show the Tentacle that humans weren't so bad, so he would catch it. And now for the events of the battle at Saffron City. So everyone would still make their way into Saffron, where they'll meet Sabrina, and everybody would be creeped out by Sabrina, as she was clearly still possessed by her doll and couldn't control her psychic powers. So she would say that if they didn't win, it was going to be playtime for her, and they were all going to be trapped in her little playhouse. This would scare everyone, and Ash would immediately step up to beat Sabrina, as would then be Ash versus Sabrina. And Sabrina would say if they lose, it was going to be playtime for her, which would then throw Ash off balance slightly, but would still get into battle, as it would then be Zubat versus Abra, as Zubat would then use a bite on Abra, as this would do a lot of damage, as then Abra would begin to evolve, as it would evolve into Kadabra, and Kadabra would dominate Zubat with a Psychic, as the Psychic would smash Zubat all over the gym, as Zubat would have sustained a lot of damage from the Psychic, as the damage it sustained would cause it to evolve into Golbat, as it wanted to win for Ash, as then Golbat would use a Crunch, which would do a lot of damage on Kadabra, as Kadabra's defenses were lowered. As Sabrina would be shocked, as she would then say that, no, I'm not going to risk my playtime getting taken away, as she would then go for a Psybeam, which would miss, as then Golbat would then go for a Wing Attack, but as it went for a Wing Attack, Kadabra would avoid the attack and land a devastating Psybeam, which would do a lot of damage, but it would then be a clash between Crunch and Psybeam, as Sabrina would then say, no, playtime is over. But even though Sabrina and Kadabra put more effort into the Psychic, eventually Golbat would overwhelm Kadabra and defeat it, as Kadabra would be defeated, and Sabrina would then snap out of her trance, as she would then apologise for how she was acting and give Ash the Marsh badge and congratulate him. The very next day, it would be Jack versus Sabrina, as it would be Charmander versus Kadabra. Charmander would use slashes for a decent chunk of damage to Kadabra, as Kadabra would then go for a side beam, which would knock back Charmander. This Charmander would then use a flamethrower to burn Kadabra. Kadabra would then step forward, as the burn would hurt it so much that it wouldn't move, as it would then be slashed and barraged constantly with slashes, as this would have done a lot of damage, as the burn would hurt it even more, as out of its anger from being damaged that much, it would use Psychic, which would do a lot of damage on Charmander, as Charmander will be hurt a lot. But eventually Charmander would learn a new move and would use Dragon Rage, which would do a lot of damage. I mean, not a lot, but a decent chunk of damage to Kadabra, as Charmander would then land the final flamethrower, which would finish off Kadabra, as Jack would then return his Charmander, and Sabrina would give him the Marsh badge and congratulate him on his victory. And Giselle would decide not to battle Sabrina, as she wouldn't think that she was on the same level as Ash and Jack, and she would know that she would get destroyed by Sabrina. Anyway, I really enjoyed this part, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Anyway.